Good evening, you're watching The Big Fight. I'm Vishnu Shom. On the program tonight, in just a few days from now, a bench of the Supreme Court led by the Chief Justice of India will pronounce their order on the single most vexing political and religious issue perhaps in our history, the history of independent India, Ayodhya. In doing so, there is a hope that there will be justice and that there will be order after the demolition of the Mandir-Masjid on the 6th of December 1992 changed the political and religious landscape of our country. More than anything else, people want peace, people want religious harmony. Ahead of the verdict, which has to be delivered before the Chief Justice retires on the 17th of this month, there is a high alert in Ayodhya. There is also a call for peace, not just in Ayodhya but across the country. There will be no overt celebrations. India must move on, but must move on peacefully. Now, the Supreme Court's verdict in the Ram Janambhoomi Babri Masjid dispute will decide on the appeals made against the verdict made by the three-judge bench of the Allahabad High Court. What had that held? It had held that the three parties, namely the Bhagwan Ramlalla Virajman, the Nirmohi Akhada and the UP Sunni Central Waqf Board were in joint possession of the disputed 2.77 acres of land. Now, will there be a resolution to this? Tonight on The Big Fight, will the Ayodhya verdict end Mandir-Masjid politics in India? Will this be a new peaceful start for our country? That's what we are looking at today. I'm going to introduce our panelists. Kartik Chopra, spokesperson of the Nirmohi Akhada. Thanks very much for being with us. Mehmood Paracha, lawyer and member of the All India Muslim Personal Law Board. Shantanu Gupta, political analyst, somebody close to the BJP. Avni Bansal is a lawyer and a member of the Congress Party. Nalini Singh, no stranger to our studios, a senior editor. And Maulana Khalid Rashid joins us from Lucknow, and we'll also be joined by General Zamir Shah, somebody who's been a part of the mediation panel of the Supreme Court in this particular case. But we are going to start the big fight with our opening round. We call it the opening punch. I'm going to ask all of our panelists to speak for exactly 1 minute. Will the Ayodhya verdict end Mandir-Masjid politics in India? Your first remarks.
The Nirmohi Akhada has been fighting this case for the last 153 years. So therefore, we look forward to this verdict and we hope it will usher in an era of peace, mutual harmony, coexistence and development, which is what everybody in our country is looking forward to. We hope this will end once and for all religious fights over temples, mosques, etc. And the country will be able to move ahead and get beyond this in an amicable manner, without raking up new issues all over again. The politics over this, we hope, will end. The Akhada is a non-political organization. We have been fighting out of court for the last 491 years and in court since 1866.
Yes.
And we have always fought with a view to uphold the principles of Bhagwan Shri Ram, which were of justice and peace for all. Which is what is Ram Raj. So we hope that the era of Ram Raj will finally come in.
The era of Ram Raj, you hope, comes in, but an era of peace as well is what you're talking about. Your first remarks, yes.
Well, Babri Masjid issue is a larger issue than it is appearing on the TV and in a arena of politics and also economics, I would say. The larger issue here is what is going to survive. Whether Constitution of India is going to survive, whether justice is going to survive, and the peace and order, as you rightly said, only comes with justice. Long-lasting peace will only come from justice. If some decision is Allahabad High Court like decision comes, it will not be according to the Constitution of India and the law of the land. That will create further problems rather than solutions. So the basic idea and if we want long-lasting peace, then justice has to prevail, come what may. Even if one person is saying the right thing, that has to be upheld. That is the rule of law, and that is what our country is known for.
Okay. Shantanu, will the Ayodhya verdict end Mandir-Masjid politics in India? You've got 1 minute for your opening remarks.
I think, Vishnu, first of all, let's not trivialize it by or oversimplifying it just by calling it Mandir-Masjid politics, right? See, Sanatan Dharma is the oldest living civilization. Alien culture came, alien religion came to India some 1200,000 years back. They broke the temples, they broke the universities, put a tax to convert you into their religion, And in the process, it's a classic case of clash of civilization. And today, that alien culture is part of us, and they're family. You find a Shah Rukh Khan, you find a Azim Haram Premji, you find a Nagma, you find in every field. So it's a classic case of clash of civilization. It may not, the clash of civilization may not end with just one verdict. Lot of such peace committees has to come together, and it's like a family. In family, if my father doesn't like something, we agree with it. We don't keep fighting. So from both the sides have to give in and then give up. So that's what I'm saying. Don't just trivialize it by saying just by one case, this clash of civilization will end.
Okay, not just by one case, it's a clash of civilizations which brings in a lot of factors. Your remarks.
I think there are three aspects to this debate. One is religion, the other is politics, and third is law. And Vishnu, my understanding is that irrespective of how good a judgment we see in the eyes of law, will the religious heads and will the politicians make sure that they do not use this issue for their own personal gains from both the sides is extremely important. And the second thing to note is that this issue cannot end even legally with this verdict, because there is a question of what happens to those people who engage in the criminal activity of destroying the Babri Masjid. So even if, let's say, the verdict comes in favor of the so-called Hindu party, what happens to those people who actually broke down the masjid? That's going to be a lingering issue. So I don't think that this issue by itself has the potential to put an end to the issue once and for all. However, I think depending on the reasoning of the Supreme Court, if the Supreme Court really just brings alive the spirit of the Constitution, perhaps there is hope that more parties will accept it than not.
All right. Important remarks over there. What happens to those who broke the masjid in the first place? Will politicization happen as a result of whatever happens in the court verdict? Nalini.
Well, I would say that the politics will begin now. If you think we've had politics on this, it will begin now. Hindus have said that in antiquity, Lord Ram has been, the belief is that Lord Ram was born in 0.33 acres of those 2.77, about 14,000 square feet, where exactly the masjid is. Now, on the other hand, and for this, they have adduced evidence, not only as Nirmohi Akhara says of 500 years, actually it goes back to 1,000 years, when there was a king, Govind Chandra, of that area of Gadawal, and he was of that area, and he built the mandir, which was then destroyed. Now the question is, I look at it with three objectives, but totally different. Chief Justice Bobde has said it's the most important case in the world. And he has said, I don't know why he said it, but I would assume that this is one where two religions are intersecting in many ways. And there is also the world is watching because Islamic space is involved. The second thing is it because that, also people are watching the independence of the judiciary in this manner?
All right, so lots of points.
The third is more important, which is antiquity.
1 minute, I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you in a moment from now. Maulana Saab, to you next. You've got exactly 1 minute on your views, opening remarks. The question is, will the Ayodhya verdict end Mandir-Masjid politics in India?
We are much more hopeful, we are very hopeful that the final verdict of the Supreme Court will end the Mandir and Masjid issue forever, because everyone knows that the whole nation has suffered a lot on this particular issue, and a lot of politics have already been played, and the common people have lost lots of life as well as business. So I think now, since the court verdict will come very soon, and all the organization, whether all the Muslim leading organization as well as the Hindu organizations, are seeing the same thing in the same tone that we all will, inshallah, respect the final verdict of the court.
Okay, respect the final verdict of the court. I think that's unanimous from everybody. It's not that that is an option at all, but respect at the level of people all across our country. That's so important. Hopefully, again, the main message, so many people have said it, is about peace. Mahmood Paracha, let me come to you first. There is a peace proposal which has been made by the mediation panel. One of the proposals which have been spoken about is that the Sunni Waqf Board drops its claim on the mosque and in exchange gains a lot. The primary point is the Waqf Board drops its claim on the Babri Masjid site, and you get to renovate Ayodhya mosques and mosques elsewhere. Is that acceptable?
So maybe I was not able to make myself clear. I did not say peace is most important. I said justice is most important, and through justice comes peace. Otherwise,
Okay.
peace doesn't come.
Okay.
So that is most important. Rule of law is most important. Otherwise, there will be another time. Now, as you see right now, if it was an issue between parties who were just looking for a judicial solution, it would not be such a big problem. It has been hijacked by sharks from both the sides, or rather,
But
all
you're
the
not
sides.
answering my question.
So that no, I'm answering
I
your
have a
question.
specific question.
Yes, yes.
The peace proposal made by the mediation panel talks about the Sunni Waqf Board dropping its claim on the mosque, the Babri Masjid. There'll be a new mosque somewhere else, and you've made a lot of other demands. There appears to be some
issue.
consensus.
Issue. Again, the issue here is what?
It's
What is
been
the issue?
widely reported.
No, what is the issue here? Let us not misunderstand. The issue is Muslims cannot take this blame that there was a mandir there, it was demolished, and over that a mosque was created. So if there has to be a peace or there has to be a mediation, first of all, this charge against, the false charge against Muslims have to be dropped. Only then there could be a talk of mediation or any other solution. Otherwise, there has to be justice through a court of law by evidence,
This would
not
need to be
conjectures.
through a court of law.
Sorry?
This would need to be through a court of law.
First there has to be Muslims were right or wrong, then
At this
through a
stage,
court of
you
law.
basically are saying that there is no solution which has been provided by the mediation panel.
Absolutely
All the
not.
details of which
all
have
that is
been
happening
reported.
is some people have hijacked the issue. They are
Some
arm
people have
twisting
hijacked
Muslims.
the issue.
Muslims,
All
they
right.
are arm twisting the Muslims to concede. Otherwise,
All
there
right.
will be chaos. Otherwise,
Do
there
you
will be mayhem.
believe that there is a process at arm twisting members of the Muslim community by the mediation panel and what they've suggested?
See, we don't know. First of all, I'd like to correct the mediation panel. Whatever report they've submitted directly to the court. The press may be reporting whatever parts of it. You mentioned General Shah. He's not part of this mediation panel appointed by the Supreme Court.
Yes.
This is some individual effort of his and a number of other Muslims and Muslim parties. So we want to first understand that who is speaking on behalf of the community. You know, we welcome civil society in general talking about peace or talking about resolution, but if this was the case, why did not in 2010 they talk about giving up the 1/3 of land that they had in favor of the Nirmohi Akhada and other Hindu parties? We would have ended this a long time ago. Now again talking of mediation less than 3, 4, 5, 6 days before the verdict is about to come out is wrong. Let the verdict come out. It will be a huge milestone that we will have achieved after the 2010 verdict, and let us see what is in the verdict before we start judging whether it's going to be a good verdict or a bad verdict or against somebody. We don't know what the honorable justices are going to come out with. Let's give it some time and see what they
Shantanu, I'm going to continue with this because this has been widely reported. The Waqf board, we are told, has actually accepted a lot of the proposals which have been made. These proposals were submitted to the Supreme Court by this mediation panel. A lot of efforts have been made over here. Some suggest that a way out has been found. Is it your belief that any judgment that actually emerges will be on the basis of this way out?
See, though I was quite surprised on the last day of the hearing,
Yeah.
there was acceptance of this mediation report. So I was wondering
Precisely.
that it was accepted, it was submitted in the court. So I was just wondering when the whole court case is over, why the mediation report is being submitted. So I think I also have a strong feeling that along with the verdict, there will be a mediation approach that court will be announced to pronounce. But I want to just comment on what Mr. Paracha said. See, the ASI report has very clearly indicated that there was a temple with extensive details of how many pillars, how many terracotta, how many Hindu symbols. So you can't just say out of the blue there was no temple there. And if you read volumes of work of Voice of India, there are details of the other thousands of temples which were broken by Muslim rulers. So
Exactly. That's
even
my
the
point.
leftists, even the left-leaning intellectuals even don't have doubt on
Exactly,
that.
that is the point.
Even
No,
the
not
darling of
left-leaning or
Lutyens Delhi,
right-leaning
darling of
on this
Lutyens Delhi,
particular
Shashi Tharoor
issue.
commented on that.
No, but the point that he
Darling of
mentions is
Lutyens Delhi,
important.
Shashi Tharoor
Would you like to
mentioned
respond to
that
that? He is
the
talking
Hindu temples
about
were broken.
evidence which exists on the ground. There is a strong belief that there was a temple over there.
strong
The
belief,
Archaeological
strong
Survey
evidence, strong
of
belief.
India has found a lot which indicates a temple may have existed over there. The Supreme Court will finally decide on what they found. But that said, the basis of his argument is that there was a temple there that was removed, there was a masjid over there, and now the temple was originally over there, which is why a temple has a right to be there.
Firstly,
That's the point. How
that
would you
is
respond?
not the main issue. The main issue is
But that's the point
based
that he
on-
mentions, which is part of
that
it.
is a
Why don't
secondary
you
issue.
reply to him?
So that is what I'm saying. That is his
So you disagree with him?
That is his point of view. Court has not decided on that.
No,
as of now.
but obviously not. The court
So
has not
therefore-
decided on anything.
Exactly.
Court
But
has
this
not
is an
decided.
issue which has come up. It's come up in the Allahabad High Court as well.
Yes.
He raises this point.
So that
If
is
you
exactly-
agreed, then say so. If
I
you
will answer
disagree,
that.
then say so.
I will answer that. I will answer that.
Memorial, and that's further buffered up by the
No, but
ASI
if
report.
I
he's
will answer
talking
that.
about the
I will
point
answer that.
on the A
See,
side,
I am a lawyer,
then talk
so
about
I
it.
have to
Yes.
confine myself to law.
Please.
I am not talking of mediation.
Please,
I am talking
please,
of law.
please, talk right. He's neither is,
legal.
yes.
The Evidence Act tells us if a place is not sanitized, place of incident is not sanitized for 11 years, there is zero evidentiary value of a archaeological report, which happened 11 years
That's the
after.
commentary on the
11
whole
years
archaeological
after,
science all
it
over
was
the world,
left in the
Vishnu.
hands of people who broke the mosque.
Vishnu, so what
So
Mr.
that is the-
Mr. Paracha
that
is
is
trying
law.
to say.
No, I think
That is law.
ASI,
Just give me
report
20
is
seconds,
very
and
much
then you can-
part of the
just
proceedings in
give
the
me
Supreme
20 seconds,
Court
Vishnu.
and
So
fully
what-
I'll come
accepted
to you after your
by the
20
court.
seconds.
Yeah.
You've got 20 seconds. Avni next, then you. Yes.
What Mr. Paracha is trying to say that Mr. B.B. Lal, Mr. Mohammad Khan, who were the chief archaeologists, they planted 20 pillars inside and dated them pre-Babar.
I am not
That's
naming
some
anyone,
Harry
I'm
Potter
saying
story.
that's the
That's
law.
some Harry Potter story.
That is a law. Evidence Act, not Harry
All
Potter.
right, Avni,
See,
go
see,
ahead.
see,
Yes.
I can
That's
get-
mockery.
Nalini,
If I
just a
can get
moment.
30 seconds of
Yes, go
uninterrupted
ahead.
time, I want to actually respond
I
to
can't
Shantanu.
promise that, but go
You
right
know-
ahead.
You know, Vishnu, with respect to Shantanu, see, this is the exact paradox that I find in this entire debate. All parties are saying we are going to respect the Supreme Court judgment. But then here we are also making claims that, oh, there is clear evidence. If this case was so simple, if the evidence is so simple, then what is the Supreme Court doing there listening to the matters for 40 days? So first things, let it be very clearly understood by the audience that the evidence is more than complicated in this case. The Allahabad High Court judgment was 5,000 pages. So for Shantanu to
And it
stand here and
mentions-
say
it
that there is clear evidence
time and again
is
ASI
misleading.
report.
Number
It
one.
never
Number
negates
two,
an
it tells
ASI
you-
report.
One
High
second,
Court
Shantanu,
judgment
let me
doesn't
make my
negate
point.
the ASI
Shantanu,
report.
let me make my point. My point is that if the law was so simple, we didn't need the Supreme Court to hear the matter. My point is, the point is very simple here. If people who believe that there is very clear evidence continue to believe so, then irrespective of what the Supreme Court says, people are not going to believe and
No,
be
but he is
100%
talking
happy.
about
The
evidence in
second
one
thing-
particular area. There were 8 grounds on which the Allahabad High Court
So what does
verdict
that
was
one piece
challenged.
of evidence
He
tell
is
you about the
talking
entire
about
dispute?
he is talking about what he believes to be decisive
Exactly.
in one
Exactly.
area.
So the
it
point
cannot
is-
be the
And
entire
so
thing.
create such a hype.
Nalini
And
next,
that creates
yes.
such
Just
a
one
hype
second.
about their beliefs that people start believing them.
Mahmood,
That's
If
the
the
main
Supreme
point.
Court
I just
says
want
that
to-
this
No,
evidence
no,
was
no.
reversed,
Everybody can have their hype. The court will decide.
They
But
are
yes.
at an
And they will
advantage.
take a
But go ahead,
judgment on it.
Nalini.
Yeah,
Nalini next.
Just very quickly, I
And
want to
I'll
say,
come to you after that,
we
yes.
are already talking about 500 years, and I'm saying 1,000 years. This is what the Nyas, the Janmumi Ram Lalla Virajman has said. Now, I'm just saying that the land, you know, it has been inhabited for at least about 7,000 or 8,000 years. How far back in antiquity are you going to go? There must be some principle on that. And when I'm talking about the politics has just begun, already in Mathura, there is this demand that now
is the
there should
point.
be a case on the
Exactly.
mosque over there. In Kashi, in Varanasi, the Gyanvapi mosque, which is adjacent to the Kashi Vishwanath temple, the holiest of the holy temples in North India, that should begin. So what I'm saying is the politics will begin now, and I don't see that this judgment is going to bring any clarity on what will happen. And in fact, if there is an adverse judgment, like somebody mentioned, suppose it is adverse for Hindus, do you foresee a situation in which the law will be changed? It's very easy to pass it in Lok Sabha. What happens in Rajya Sabha, we will see, but most probably it will be passed. So I think a broad-minded view of what's happening, you know, from looking at how far will you dig in a time. This land has been inhabited, as we say, for thousands of years.
Okay, so that's an important point, that how far will you dig in time. One of the arguments which was raised is that the Babri Masjid exists on that particular site from 1528. Members of the Hindu community disagree with that, and they point to the Archaeological Survey of India, details of which have indicated that 265 inscriptions were found in that particular area. But how would you respond to Nalini to actually say that, look, that may be the case, there may be a case that there was a masjid constructed in the 1500s, but how far will you look? And
Look,
ultimately a
look,
solution needs
before
to go
the- What
about the
beyond
Buddhists?
just
What
what is
about the
located, what
Buddhists?
is found.
What about the Buddhists? I just want to add one point here.
No,
Buddhists
let
have
him
also
make
made-
his point, let him make his,
No,
he's been
I'm
waiting.
just adding to her point.
I promise you next, yes, go ahead.
You see, the judgment still has to come out, so it's wrong to start.
We are debating various
making-
aspects of it.
thing.
The judgment is going to come out.
All I want
None
to
of you
say
have
is
to repeat that.
I
We
can
are all
only
waiting
comment
for
on
it.
what the Nirmohi Akhada has done. The Nirmohi Akhada has always maintained that this has been a temple We have always believed it is the birthplace of Bhagwan Sri Ram, and we have, as far as we are concerned, it was never a mosque. The Muslim side has not been able to prove in court that Babur came and built a mosque over here. You see that they have not, they have started their legal arguments from 1858, which is the start of Indo-Anglian law. Very clearly they say they do not have documentary evidence for the past 300 years before that.
To prove that a mosque was built.
To prove that Babur came and built that mosque, and therefore it was
then
mosque,
how does the mosque
waqf by
exist?
Delegation, and then later that it was
In the Allahabad High Court judgment, it was is it not correct that all of the judges believed that irrespective of the circumstances in which the mosque was built, whether it was built on relics of a temple or not, there was a mosque which was constructed, and that the existence of the mosque cannot be disputed.
We cannot comment on that. That is because of the Allahabad High Court judgment. We went to the Supreme Court.
Right, I understand
so what
that.
we are referring to is what arguments took place in the Supreme Court. So what we are trying to say is let the court finally take a view on all of this, including the
Maulana
ASI
Saab,
report,
would you like to
including
respond
all
on
the
this
other
specific
evidences that have
point?
been put forward by all the
One
parties.
of the key points which has been mentioned is
each and every
yes, go ahead.
Each and every document and papers and all the proofs have been put before the Honorable Supreme Court. Now we all should wait very patiently for the final verdict, and I have not find a single person from the last many days or a single organization from the last many days whosoever has said that we will not abide by the court verdict. So the type of debate that is being tried to be generated, I don't think that is positive in the or healthy in the present atmosphere. There is a very positive atmosphere throughout the country, and it must be maintained.
I think that's an important point.
I agree with Maulana
yes,
Saab.
you
I
agree entirely with Avni.
Vishnu, I just want to address the elephant in the room.
Which
the
is?
fact that BJP has on its agenda that they are going to make a Ram Mandir means for all practical purposes that in the upcoming elections, all elections, not just general elections, even state elections, irrespective of whether they are happy with the judgment or not, they are going to continue to politicize it.
So what you are saying is that Mandir-Masjid politics doesn't end. If anything, it gets accentuated, irrespective of what happens in the verdict.
If BJP has it on their manifesto, if they're going to fight for it, even if the Supreme Court
they can have it in their manifesto, the Supreme Court will decide one way or the other.
Vishnu,
but your point is interesting. Are you trying to say that with elections, different states happening, coming up in the next several months, Mandir-Masjid politics will dominate, because that will remain irrespective of the judgment.
So Vishnu, can I ask Avni, with
yes.
your permission, may I ask Avni something? You know, what she's referring to is Mathura, the whole dispute that will now come from Mathura will probably, I'm saying, will probably coincide with 2022, which is the UP elections. And Kashi Vishwanath, Banaras, will probably coincide with 2024, which is the next Lok Sabha election. I want to ask Avni, what will the Congress's stand be for Mathura and Kashi? Will you support that the mosque should be brought down, or will you say, no, let it go to court?
So Nalini ji, I think it's a very good question. To be honest, I don't think I'm in a position where I can say what will the Congress's stand be, especially since we are all waiting for the judgment at this point. But what I'm saying with certainty is that BJP, given the fact that it is the part of its manifesto that they're going to build a Ram temple, irrespective of how the judgment comes, the largest party in majority today,
but
do
does
you
the
think they're going
Congress
to just
party
give up on
find
this issue
itself
just like that?
in a situation where it's essentially confused about its politics going forward?
Exactly.
Is there going to be soft
But Vishnu,
Hindutva?
it's important to note,
If this is going to dominate the political discourse, the BJP may well decide to do that,
well, they will
irrespective
do so.
of which way the judgment
Vishnu, it's
goes.
important to note,
what will the Congress do?
It's important to note that Justice Ranjan Gogoi, when he started hearing these bunch of petitions on Ayodhya, he made it very clear that what we are deciding is just the title suit, nothing else. So as far as your question is concerned,
no, we are talking about politics. He is deciding the title suit.
It went on a
But his
mediation where it was
decision, one
stated
way or
as
the
a
other,
bigger
will
matter
decide
than
the
just
discourse in this
title.
country. So Shantanu, my question to you, perhaps the Ayodhya verdict will not end Mandir-Masjid politics. If anything, it will accentuate these politics.
I mean,
it suits the political interests of various parties.
It will not accentuate, but it will give you a direction for sure. See, what are political parties? Political parties represent the aspiration of the people in the parliament. So, if BJP recognize the aspiration of the people toward Ram Mandir or other temples, what's the problem? Is Congress is still confused.
You disagree?
For them, Ram is imaginary. For them, Ram is imaginary. For Rahul Gandhi, जो लड़के मंदिर जाते हैं, वो लड़की छेड़ते हैं. For BJP, the idea is different.
Vishnu,
For the BJP, the idea of Hindu community is different. For them, the idea of Hindu community is different. In fact, in 2004, A.K. Antony came out and said we have to remove the
from back burner, this is not only front burner,
That's
this
why
is going to be
He has
the
made a very
dominant
important
political
statement.
discourse.
And he has said the Supreme Court judgment will guide the direction of how the political discourse takes place. So
It
is he
won't.
saying? Is he saying? Is he
It will.
saying
It
that
will.
if the
It will.
so is he saying?
I think let's not live in
I
any
think it
utopia.
Vishnu,
Yes,
I am
yes,
only
exactly,
saying,
it will.
I am only
I
saying
agree
that
with
if the Supreme Court says in favor of the Muslim parties, will the BJP says no Ram Mandir whatsoever, is that a position that Shantanu can take very clearly?
See, you being
If
a
you're saying
Congress
we'll accept
representative,
the, we'll respect the judgment,
you being a
let's be
Congress
very clear
representative is
about
not
it.
taking Congress's side. I'm just a BJP supporter. I
Why
can't
not?
say what BJP, the stand BJP will take. But I'm saying a political party represent the aspiration of the people, and BJP understood the aspiration of the people represented in the political manifesto.
I think
and Congress still feel confused. In 2014, A.K. Antony came out and said we have to remove the anti-image of Congress. That's what started the temple
Okay,
hopping
so
of
is the
Rahul Gandhi.
Congress confused?
Wait,
Nalini?
With great respect, let me say that actually the people really want peace. I think they've been living together in Ayodhya, even if the population of Muslims is 6%, but they have been living together. It is the political parties that are indulging in double speak, and they will continue to do so. So we should watch what happens immediately after the elections, after the judgment. The Prime Minister is going to make a statement, I hear, and Amit Shah, the Home Minister, will make a statement. After that, they have instructed perhaps the BJP, everybody will make just the same statement. We should have a protocol of the political parties, because the people will definitely follow, but it's the political parties that will be looking at Mathura 2022
Scoring
UP
points,
elections,
right?
etc. That's what's going to happen.
Okay, Maulana Sahab, is this your big fear, that this is not the end of Mandir-Masjid politics, it's just the beginning, irrespective of which way the verdict goes?
See, the Places of Worship Act is already in force, so I think that it will not be legally very easy
Maulana
or
Sahab,
sound
don't be
to
naive.
raise,
Don't be naive.
to raise the issue of any other Places of Worship Act.
No, but what
Don't
do
be
you say?
naive. Don't be naive, please.
Hello?
They have flouted Supreme Court's direct decisions, and they have flouted on December the 6th, 1992. They don't care about, RSS does not care about any law. Understand this very clearly. So don't be naive, that is what hurts us. So you have to understand, they will stop at nothing. They are saying we have found a direction and we will continue.
They and us. If
Yes,
you notice,
yes,
he
it
has
is that.
already, he has already
It is,
put the line
yes,
they and us.
it is absolutely.
This
Manuwaris
debate is about
and
they and us, which
Ambedkar
has
have
been resolved by
yes,
the court.
Civilizations.
Absolutely.
That's what I was talking
Okay,
about.
one sec. Let him make his point.
Absolutely.
In every
There
time
are
of
only two sides. One is
in every type of-
Ambedkarwadis and the constitutionalists, and the other is Manuwar.
Okay, Maulana
There is
Sahab, respond to
nothing else.
Mr. Paracha.
We are
Respond,
absolutely-
respond to
Read
Mr.
Ambedkar's
Paracha.
commentary on Islam.
Respond
I
to
have
Mahmood
read.
You
Paracha.
appelled to read Ambedkar's commentary on Islam.
I am
One
supporter of
second,
Ambedkar.
both
I
of
am not,
you.
I am very happy what he said about
Maulana
Islam.
Sahab, respond to what Mr. Paracha said.
So in all type of situation, one must be positive, and to be positive is very healthy for every person and every community and the entire nation. What I want to say is that Places of Worship Act is already in force, and it will not be very legally easy to issue any other place of worship matter. And secondly, the youngsters of this country who are in majority are not interested in any such issue or any such controversy. And I think that more than the political parties know this better, and if they are interested in vote bank politics, then they must also know and must be knowing that the youngsters of this country are not interested. They are interested for their
So therefore,
future,
Maulana
the
Sahab, let
economy,
me
for
ask
the
you,
development
what
of
are
the
your
nation.
views on what the mediation panel has said? It's been very widely reported that the Sunni Waqf Board will drop its claim on the mosque. Other mosques in Ayodhya will be renovated, and a new mosque will be built at another suitable place. A list of ASI mosques will be submitted. A national institution for harmony will be created. All of these points, sir. Are you in favor of this as a solution?
No, from
Just
the very
keep in your
first day
mind,
we are
RSS
saying
is a
that
social
we
body,
will abide.
not a political body.
One sec, Maulana Sahab, answer. Go ahead.
We are very firm on a stand, and we are maintaining a stand from the day one that we will abide whatever the Supreme Court will say, As far as the mediation panel is concerned, you all know better than me that already Supreme Court has said that no one should say anything outside mediation panel, what we have already said before the mediation panel. So I don't think that to discuss what we have or the other parties have said before the panel must be discussed, but we all should patiently wait for the final verdict.
You don't want to get into specifics, Maulana Sahab, but let me rephrase my question then. Do you necessarily disagree with the thrust of what I have been telling you? Do you necessarily disagree with the thrust of what I have been telling you on what has been widely reported on what the mediation panel submitted to the court?
So we are saying from day one that whatever the Supreme Court will say, we will abide by the Supreme Court verdict.
All right, fine. Mr. Paracha?
Only a just decision, and that too by Supreme Court, nothing else.
Mr. Paracha,
Otherwise,
you are not happy
heading
with,
towards more chaos.
with these proposals, right? You
No
believe
proposal,
that,
no-
that the
see, I
claim
will-
of the Muslim community must be respected, and that you want the verdict to go down along the lines which you've always argued, right? You do not believe that what has been suggested is a solution. That's what you're trying to say.
It will create more problems.
No, no one is looking to create problems. I'm only trying to understand where you're coming from in your views.
In
Because
my view-
there is no, it's not equal. I mean, different people are saying different things.
Absolutely.
Right.
And all these people who are proposing these kind of proposals, they are getting a very strong response from the Muslim community. They are being told not to do this. They are being specifically told, they have been identified as sellers of their soul. So they should realize what they are doing is not going to help them. The cabinet ministers are calling,
so
cabinet
Maulana Sahab is
ministers of this
somebody you
government.
say comes
Yes,
from that,
I am
that,
telling
that,
him
that
on his
side.
face, do not do this. This will create more problems and you are getting exposed. If you say all these things, mediation. See, what is Sunni Waqf Board? It is an organization of Yogi government. What value do they have in Muslim communities' eyes? Zero. Because you have to follow the law and you have to follow constitutional
There are a lot of
principles.
other issues. If the
There
Waqf Board
is-
says we are
and-
giving
and
up in favor of the Hindus, which Hindu? Which Hindu party? Who are the parties who are
These
actually
are
claiming
sharks.
title?
They are playing
These
politics.
These
They are
important
earning money
facts. Therefore,
out
it's
of this.
best to leave it to the Honorable Supreme Court to give a final direction on this, a final judgment on this.
And if it is not
If
according
there
to law,
is a verdict, and there will be a verdict, which favors one community and not the other in the manner in which one community feels left out, where will that leave us as a country?
That is the reason we went to the Supreme Court for justice. We have to accept the justice
So
that the Honorable Supreme
your,
Court gives us.
your definition of justice in this case is different from his definition of justice.
No. Justice is the
What
court
the
will-
mediation
the
panel
court
had
will
to
pass
say
a
was this
judgment.
is good for both communities.
Court will pass a
What the
judgment.
Allahabad High Court said was apparently good for all three members, or in this particular
No, we
dispute
don't
that was
accept
disputed.
trifurcation of our
That-
deity,
the
therefore we went
trifurcation
to
that
the
was
Supreme Court.
disputed.
Okay.
So therefore,
The issue is that the
isn't
Supreme
that the
Court,
big worry?
Supreme Court being the highest temple of justice in this country,
The matter
we
will
are
end once they
waiting.
rule.
We are waiting for their judgment. We will see that
and
judgment
other
and accept the
institutions
judgment.
will implement the Supreme Court judgment.
No,
Where
it's not
where
as
is the
if you have a
question?
choice.
No. What I'm saying is this is a test for Indian democracy. Please understand this very, very carefully.
This judgment
and very,
will
very
define how
will-
our
how our
country
country
moves
moves
ahead.
forward. Exactly,
How
I
we
agree
move
with that.
ahead into the future.
It has to be, people cannot, sitting
you
in
know,
the parliament.
it's amazing
they
how the
cannot
two
say-
of you are saying the exact same thing in
Yes,
almost the same
yes.
words, but your views on the issue are 100%
maybe,
different.
Maybe,
No, our
maybe.
views are
In
same.
terms
We are-
of the
maybe.
resolution,
Our views
Our
on
views are
what
same.
he
justice are
seeks,
exactly the
Uphold
same.
the
what
law.
he
We
are
seeks
saying
of the
uphold the law,
disputed
let the
land is
judgment
the
come.
exact opposite of what you seek in the
Don't
disputed
compromise
land.
on law. Don't compromise
Vishnu,
on
each
rule
of
of law.
us
You
may
cannot.
have gone, each of us go into court
In
to
fact,
fight.
Maulana Sahab
No,
has
no.
been saying the
Each
same
of
thing
us-
also.
Each of us
Don't
go-
compromise on the law of the land.
Each of us go to the Honorable Supreme Court to place our argument. He has his argument, we have our
But
argument.
sharks
It's
have
for
one
the
argument
court to discuss.
that we want to
decide.
make political benefit out of it. We want to get political benefit out. Sharks have that. That is what we have
Avni,
to
go
protect our
ahead.
country from.
Do you think Avni is a political shark also?
What she says, it
I'll
will come
tell you.
out. We cannot prejudge anyone.
Avni, go ahead.
It will
Vishnu,
come
A,
out.
I think
Shantanu
very-
is a shark. There's
Vishnu,
no
I
doubt.
He is definitely, because he's saying thousands of mosques, clash of
All right.
civilizations. He is. He is
Okay, one
representing.
sec. We'll talk
I have
about
two
those
points
points.
to
Those are
make. My
serious
first
points,
point
yes.
is it is very heartening to see everybody repose so much trust in the Supreme Court and in the Constitution. When the verdict comes, how parties react, and afterwards will be what will be interesting to see. Are people really serious about believing in the Constitution, or are they not? That's the first thing. The second thing is, I think if we come back to your main question, I think the political parties from all spectrum are going to continue to politicize the issue.
Including the
I
Congress.
think I said all political parties. I said all political parties are going to continue to use this issue because it's a very interesting issue which mixes religion, law and politics. I think it is the people of the country who have to ask themselves, is this the kind of politics that they want to see? Is this the true meaning of religion? Is that 2.77 acres of land really worth fighting for and spending 40 days of the Supreme Court's
So,
time?
Shantanu, I must ask you a somewhat...
We fought for over 500
They are
years.
fighting for rule of
We
law.
definitely think it's important.
It is not.
I
This
agree with
is
Mahmood.
rule of law.
One second,
Congress which
Vishnu,
made it what they are
I agree with
today.
Mahmood that it is going to set the course of the country. But I think we are exaggerating the case by saying that this is the first or the last case which brought politics the way it did.
No, it
Indian
did.
Constitution is strong enough to address not just this political issue. but
Shantanu,
other
I had a
issues.
question
the
for you.
people of the country will have to have a final
Is it
word.
not strange that today in Maharashtra, with your closest Hindutva partner, the Shiv Sena, somebody with whom you have come together in the past on the issue of Ayodhya, you are fighting like cats and dogs? Isn't that strange that you've lost a partner at a time when the biggest verdict on Ayodhya will come out?
See, I was in a debate on yesterday, and I told the
I
same
mean,
thing.
I just find it a strange irony.
I told the same thing, that BJP and Shiv Sena are the closest ideological alliance. Among all the alliances BJP have, be it with JDU or Akali Dal, and it's very unfortunate that on seat sharing formula, see, politics is very different. I'm saying everyone wants to get a CM seat. On what Mr. Mahmood said, he's calling they and us, and when I talk about class of civilization, he calls me a shark. See, I want to bring a very interesting angle of economy. Just by this artificially delaying the judgment, we have stopped an amazing economy. If you read this book by Lakshmi Nama, by India Today editor, he talks about a Tirupati economy with 3,000 crore rupees, a Kanwar economy where Muslims are almost Muslims are Jwalapur on 100 crore rupees.
Come to you, Nalini,
so we have curtailed a multi-thousand crore economy of that region just by not allowing to make a grand temple there.
I just
Absolutely,
hope worry for the
it is always
economy
for money.
is
That
true
is
for
that
all
is their
issues.
case from the beginning.
Everybody
It is
may
for
have
money.
their own view. We have
It is
always
money.
fought
Not
for Bhagwan
any-
Sri Ram
money
for
for
the
everyone in
side
the region.
vision.
What's the
for them.
problem? If
Money
everyone
for
in the
them.
region
Money for
comes
them.
vote them.
There are other parties.
It's not.
There are
It's
All right,
not
one
happening
second.
across
Nalini,
I
come
think
in. We've
you
got 3 minutes left. Yes,
Yeah,
Nalini, go
you're
ahead.
talking
2
about
minutes left.
the economy of Ayodhya. I think that we
We're
have
talking
other,
money.
we have got other states which should have had tourism just now, which are not going there. So I'm not going into that. What I'm saying is, despite what they are talking about just now, we will take Supreme Court judgments, etc. Review petitions should be expected. They
All
will
right.
happen.
Review
The-
petitions should be expected.
Yeah, the other
I'm
thing
going
is,
to...
Vishnu, just
Yes.
very quickly, this is a property dispute, is what the Supreme Court has said. Now you are going to, actually what you've done is
It's not an
every-
economic dispute, is it?
Every
Yes.
property
For
dispute.
them it is.
And
For them it is.
The Supreme Court, one
No,
second.
he's
remember-
brought it on.
And for votes
I
also.
just want to say,
Economics,
you
money,
are
votes,
actually
that's it.
opening,
You see,
you're
Nirmoya
opening
Khara has been
this
fighting from
up
before there was
for
any political party in this country.
No,
one
but
second,
surely it
please,
is an
Mr. Chopra.
ideological issue and not...
If it's
I
a
mean,
property
first an
dispute-
economic...
It's our
Just
faith
one
that that is
second.
Janam Bhoomi.
Right.
That is why we have
I
been
just
fighting.
want to just want
And
to
it is our
complete.
land.
If it's a property dispute, then every village over here, every colony will say that this was inhabited by a village which was inhabited by something else. They will open this. Why not?
So the
They
status
will-
quo needs to remain.
So I
is
mean,
what
I know,
you're saying.
I cannot
is
say
what your
anything.
belief as a
I'm
citizen
just
is.
saying all these are aspects.
All
which
right.
have to
These
be
are
considered.
important aspects. We will know finally in a few days from now. It has to be in a few days from now before the Chief Justice of India retires. So one of the most vexing, one of the most troublesome disputes, political, economic, certainly religious, ideological, it will hopefully be resolved one way or the other. But whichever way it is resolved, it's wonderful that all of our panelists over here want a peaceful solution where Hindus and Muslims can live together as brothers and sisters. Okay, so joining me now, Lieutenant General Zamiruddin Shah, somebody who's been associated with efforts at trying to find a peaceful solution between members of both communities. General Shah, thanks very much for joining us. General Shah, there's a peace proposal suggested by the Supreme Court appointed mediation panel. Are you hopeful the court will look at this as being the favourable way forward?
Yes, most certainly. In fact, the court only had agreed and allowed the two parties to carry on with the negotiation. So I'm very, very hopeful that they will have a look at that peace proposal.
So, sir, part of the peace proposal suggests that the claim over Kashi and Mathura needs to go away. Is that a correct observation, that you won't have that the claim over Kashi and Mathura made by the Hindu community, that needs to go away so that mosques and things in these areas are protected in the way that they have been thus far?
Absolutely. That's one of the preconditions. There are two preconditions. One is there will be no further claims. The Places of Worship Amendment Act be given teeth. So this is essential. I'm sure that if that is given, the Muslim community would be very, very pacified.
So, sir, what exactly do you mean by stating that the claim won't be there on Kashi and Mathura?
Well, there have been claims, not only this, but I think the total of thousands of mosques. But I think these two are in the hairline, and our suggestion is that we give up the claim. I mean, this is only my suggestion. It is for the Muslim community to accept it, and it is a suggestion of the Sunni Waqf Board and the Muslims for Peace based in Lucknow. They said that we are prepared to surrender the land back to the Waqf, that means the custodian of the land, and the government can do what it likes with it, provided the preconditions, the two preconditions. One is that no more claims to any other mosque, and secondly, the Places of Worship Amendment Act be given teeth. At the moment, anybody who violates that goes into prison just for 3 months. We felt that that is not an adequate deterrent. There must be an adequate deterrent to deter people from doing these things in future.
So, sir, when you're talking about Kashi and Mathura, you're talking about protecting mosques there, maintaining a special status quo, right?
That is because those are on the hairline. Also, we want to put an end to these claims and counterclaims all over the country. There are. I mean, I read the book on by Mr. Godbole, who mentions that 2,000 mosques are claimed to be on the site of mandirs. All this, that is all part of history, and it needs to be dropped.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but if this proposal is something that's accepted, this mediation body proposal, you are looking to build a grand mosque elsewhere, right? And you would therefore give up the claim on the disputed site in Ayodhya.
That's right. I mean, we would like to build another masjid. Also, another thing which we requested is that the mosques presently under the control of the Archaeological Survey of India, prayer should be permitted on Fridays. That's one of our demands.
So, but this is important because what you suggest is perhaps disputed. Are all three parties amenable to the proposal that Bhagwan Ram Lalla Virajman, the Nirmohi Akhada and the UP Sunni Central Waqf Board, do they accept what you are saying?
Well, you know, they are amenable, but what I have received large messages of support from the Muslim community and from the Hindu community, but the so-called learned members of the Muslim community are averse to any understanding. They feel that let the court decide, we should not interfere in it.
All right. Well, General Shah, let's see what finally happens. One way or the other, we'll get to know. As we've been mentioning repeatedly, let's keep the peace and let's hope that whatever the Supreme Court decides favors millions of citizens across faiths in our country. Out of time. Till then, goodbye.